following is a Learfield presentation of the Rhody Sports Network. On the Rhody Sports Network.
You know, to be quite honest with you, it's humbling to be with good people. That's what we wanted to be a part of.
This is the Archie Miller Show. For the next hour, we'll bring you an inside look at Rams basketball. Tonight's show is brought to you by New England Laborers, Liuna, Feel the Care, Pizza Gourmet. Rhode Island's Wood Grilled Pizza Crust is a proud sponsor of URI Athletics. Haxton Liquors, where we buy the most so you pay the least. Newport Propane, Rhode Island's #1 choice for all your propane needs. Orthopedics Rhode Island, the official orthopedic and sports medicine provider for URI Athletics. Dave's Fresh Marketplace, better food, better service. Now, here's your host, Steve MacDonald.
All righty, welcome once again to our favorite spot, the Mews Tavern, for the Archie Miller Coaches Show. Glad to have you with us, and we broadcast from the Mews. This is, George McAuliffe is right over here.
Yep.
And George is hanging out. He is one of the owners and managers of the Mews Tavern, and a great big URI fan and part of the URI family. We appreciate George very, very much. Newport Propane as well. We got some great friends there. Rhode Island's #1 choice for all your propane needs. Family owned and operated since 1959. Newport Propane will treat you like part of the family. Visit them at newportpropane.com. Of course, we're going to talk to Arch for a little while. Big win last night for the University of Rhode Island. And then Jack Buchan, video coordinator, is going to come on a little later on and tell us all your secrets about challenges, Coach. We're going to
Yeah, Honey, we call him.
Yeah,
Honey. We call him Honey. He's responsible for the live playback feed on the system that is required to use, and does a great job with it. It's a stressful, probably a lot more stressful job than I think a lot of people know. It's split decision. The good thing is that every single time that I turn my head over to him and ask him, Honey, and he looks at me and he says, "That was off, Ken."
Okay, yeah.
That was off, Tyler.
Got it down. He's certain, right? You just want
But he never gives me the whole challenge. I want to see him go like this one time so we can maybe get the ball back. But about 90%, it's usually off us.
Yeah.
We're not getting a whole lot of breaks on the challenges.
Jack's ready to give you the bad news, right?
Yeah, I just need to see Honey do this one time with his twirling in his finger, and he keeps saying, "Nah, it's off him."
We're going to get into not only that, but he certainly, from what I hear, one of the best in the business as far as breaking down film for players to give them individual looks on who they'll be guarding, the whole deal.
Like a lot of guys, he grew up within the program. You know? So when you develop as a manager, you develop a lot of different type of skills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not every manager is the same in terms of what they're good at. But Honey is a guy that obviously, grew up in the program. He's a part of every practice. He then grows into a guy that the staff, really depends on in terms of the day-to-day operations, and he can handle a lot of things. And one of the things I think that he wants to do at some point in time is obviously be a part of basketball moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Film and video is a great way to expand that first step, in terms of doing it as a GA and now doing the video as we're not. But you need to whiz it with the film and getting the videos and practices every night and breaking down edits, making edits. That's obviously a very important piece. And then in the off season, now you're evaluating prospects in college.
Okay, yeah.
So you're not. The recruiting dynamic has changed in terms of providing videos and whatnot. So that will develop him in one way, and then he'll continue to grow in other areas and keep moving. But he's doing a great job.
I was talking to him. I told him back in the day we had the tape exchange. You take the VHS tape and drive halfway to CCSU to give them their tape, and take their tape and drive back to school.
Yeah, I mean you hear
come a long way.
You hear the war stories of the live scouting, and then the video VHS to VHS.
Oh.
Then it grew into DVDs, and then DVDs grew into now the computer. And I've been pretty on top of it. I think as I've gotten older, I haven't been so archaic, but I am at the point now where I'm still very comfortable in my system, which is, jotting clips down on pieces of paper and handing a piece of paper to the film guy and say, "Here's my edit."
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Nowadays, you can if you're good, you make your own edit as you go. Save a lot of time. But I haven't really, for whatever reason, I haven't really embraced the whole make my own edit yet.
We're going to ask Jack how good you are on that stuff when we get a chance to talk to him, which will be in a little bit. Give Coach a grade on his.
I'm not terrible.
You're better than me, I'll tell you that. Hey, Coach, nice win last night, 64-52 over Duquesne, who averaged 80 points a game coming into that game over the entire season, and you held them to 52, 28 below their average. That defense is really cooking.
We had a good defensive effort last night, and I said it after the game. We've had 80 straight minutes of good defense, even from St. Joe's to Duquesne. I think a byproduct of playing a team a second time, sometimes making some adjustments on our end. We did not play particularly well in the first time we played Duquesne. I thought, number one, they overwhelmed us with their size. Their speed and their pace at their place was really up. And then we were in rotation way too much in the first game in terms of creating maybe a little bit more offense for them than we needed to. And I thought our guys adjusted really well to this second time that we played them. And we were pretty good. I think, at the end of the day, I always look at those last 90 seconds of the game when a team's making a comeback and they get like 6 gimmies there down the stretch or a couple that you haven't given up. And really, to be honest with you, we had them in the 40s for a good duration of the game. And that's hard to do because Duquesne has firepower. They have 2 really good guards, Ginyard and Jimmy Williams, and then they're
2 of the top
guys.
8 scorers in the league.
Yeah, Ginyard's one of the best point guards in our league. He's very good. He was just coming off, I think, 25 at St. Louis. And then, Jimmy Williams, he's another guy. He can really put up some points. Those 2 guys in general, they account for 35 or 40 a night. And I thought we did a really good job. Individually, we had some really good individual performances defensively last night. I thought Jonah was back to maybe not 100%, but he's starting to look like he did pre-injury in terms of the way he's competing on defense, the way he's able to hold up conditioning-wise, his movement. So I thought Jonah was really good last night on an individual setting. And I thought our front court did a really good job of being able to hold their own a little bit more last night. They didn't cave in. But the key to our team, and it's been the key all season, is how active we are in terms of getting hands on balls, deflecting balls, making things difficult. And, I thought Tyler had one of his games that maybe we haven't seen maybe in the last 2-3 weeks where, he's just all over the place. He had 6 steals in the game, and, we had 15 steals as a game. But very proud of our effort last night defensively. I know right now we're probably feeling a little bit cratered on offense at times because, we're not giving our defense a whole ton of cushion, with the way we're shooting it. But like I told those guys, when you're at this stage of the season and you are competing the way you're competing, regardless if your offense is going well or not, it's a great sign that a team can bring the other end back around and put the 2 together. But proud of our effort last night in terms of the way that we played.
Yeah, Chris DeSano is my broadcast partner and good friend. He said that that second half might have been the best second half.
It's the best second half that we've played since our St. Louis game at home.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had a game since St. Louis where you look at LaSalle. I'm not sure who was right after LaSalle. Maybe it was the Blizzard Week.
Okay,
so we had to deal with the Blizzard Week at Bonaventure.
Right.
And then we had St. Joe's at home. In those 3 games, St. Joe's is probably the only one that I would say we played well enough, at least on the defensive end, to give ourselves a chance. But offensively, in all 3 of those games, we're really not giving ourselves a chance with the way that we're either playing offense, shooting the ball, turning the ball over. The biggest thing right now is it's just got to open up for us a little bit from deep. We have a couple guys right now, I think that it's in their head a little bit. And, I think a couple went in last night. RJ made a big one. Jameer made one in the right corner. And just a couple of those shots just kind of okay, it makes you feel a little better. And then we played consistent in the second half, at least the back 12 minutes offensively. We took care of the ball. We were able to start getting to the foul line. We were able to start to run offense through the middle of the floor a little bit. And to me, I thought our second half, we were pretty consistent. But he's exactly right just in terms of let's hope that that's a sign that, from an offensive standpoint, we could start to put together some better strings here to help ourselves because you can't shut teams out. It's hard.
And the key players have all taken their turn on the DMP list at some point. Everybody healthy, ready to go last night, and that made a difference.
Last night was the first night in a long time that we've been able to really play our core group.
Yeah.
Jameer isn't 100%. His conditioning has really been affected by being out. RJ coming off the head was able to come back, but he didn't practice much coming into the game. And then, we had Joan out, and I think the in, the out, not having everybody in sync sometimes plays a role in that. And I thought that crew last night, though, played good minutes together.
Absolutely. Tyler continues to mount the steals. He had 6 of them in last night's game. 81 steals on the season now. Number 1 in the A-10, number 3 in the country, and 1 of 3 in URI history. 80-plus steals in a single season. Tommy Garrick and Fats Russell being the other 2, so he's keeping some pretty good company there.
Yeah, he's he has more in A-10 play. He has more steals than turnovers. It's an unheard of stat, to have more steals in a season than you have in turnovers in a season. And he actually leads us in turnovers. That's why we were looking at it. He leads us in turnovers right now in conference play, but he also has more steals than turnovers. Incredible stat. But he has a unique gift. His anticipation, his hand speed, his strength in his hand speed. If he gets a finger on a ball, it's coming loose. And he has great anticipation as well. And, I think he's learned to play that way because he's not overly gifted vertically off the ground. He's not overly gifted in terms of start and stop, quick speed. But he gauges angles. He cuts you off early and plays for steals. He plays the game to steal the ball. A lot of guys don't play for steals. A lot of guys will play solid. A lot of guys will try to play positioning. He actually runs around the course of the game. He's hunting opportunities for steals.
Good
and sometimes it's feast or famine. He gets 4 or 5, and then sometimes he misses and then gives up a basket. But, when he does have the impact that he has positively from getting deflections or steals, it really changes the game.
And the flip side is true, I think, as well. And get your thoughts on for the turnovers that he, people are playing him differently. They're not just bodying up because he'll pound you down all the way to the cylinder. But now they're trying to get around and slap the ball loose on his dribble when he's in the lane.
Yeah, I mean he's physically he's beat up. He's logged a lot of minutes.
Sure.
I think the second part is obviously in and around the rim. They're trying to trap him or take bodies at him.
He's got the ball in his hands a lot.
And in transition or even when he's driving right now, I mean, there's just a lot of bodies. I think that's why it's so important that if we can get a couple guys to open that floor up just a little bit with some made threes.
Right.
And not that we're depending on threes. We only took 6 in the second half last night, and I thought most of them were pretty good. But, we have to have the ability to make a few to keep teams honest.
Tyler, you got big game against Fordham coming up on Saturday for seeding, and then it's on to the A-10 tournament.
Yep.
And with that, at the beginning of it, they'll give out the awards for first team, second team, third team. In your eyes, where does Tyler fit?
I think Tyler's been one of the best players in our conference all year. I think when the opponents are preparing for us, they know that he's a good player. He's also a very devastating two-way player.
Yeah.
I think he should be all defense. Sure. I don't know who will be defensive player of the year per se in the league, but when you lead the country in steals and there's games where I'll shake the coach's hand before the game and wish him luck, and they're like, man, that Cochran guy, he's unique, huh? Does he steal the ball like that in practice? You can just tell, people are aware of him in terms of that. But Tyler, to me, has been one of top 15 guys in the league for sure. With that being said, we'll see how it goes. We got to finish, and I think the last week of the regular season would be really key for him to have another performance.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, but yeah, you're right. The shot blockers a lot of times get the defensive player of the year, but I think him with the steals certainly is a prime candidate for that. Coach, first half, no free throws for you guys. Second half, 14 of 17 in that game last night against Duquesne. Now, some of those were at the end when they had to foul to try to get back in, but for the most part, you made an adjustment at halftime. You told those guys, hey, listen, we got to get to the line.
Yeah, I think when, officiating crews understand the name of the game, and Duquesne shot 11 free throws in the first half, and we shot 0.
Yeah.
Now, there's twofold to that. Number one, we're either not being rewarded properly or we're not playing aggressive enough. And at halftime, we talked about the more aggressive, the more physical team, is going to get rewarded. And I thought in the second half we were much better getting to the basket, playing with more force, playing in the middle of the floor straight downhill was a lot better for us as well. We had some second shot opportunities because of it. And, at the end of the game, RJ, was able to ice it pretty much, with his great free throw shooting. But 17 free throws in the second half is much more accustomed to our team.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing's for sure, Coach, you can talk about steals, you can talk about missed three-pointers, you can talk about great defense. No quitting your guys. I mean, they gave you 40 minutes last night, and they're giving you 40 minutes.
Character and heart. This team's been through a lot. Our journey is our journey. Every team goes through their own journey of ups and downs. There's been some really high wins. There's been some low periods of, back-to-back losses or 3 losses in a row.
Sure.
We've had injuries. We've had it all. But to say that, we don't continue to show up and dig ourselves out when we're least expected to, and you're looking for a flat performance, or are they going to, our team has showed up the right way. And I give our guys credit. The Blizzard week was a disaster.
Sure.
It just was. It was a very unorthodox. It was a very, it was a week that you look back on and you're like, man, we didn't really have a chance, to be good, really, at the end of the day. But we came back Monday and Tuesday this week heading to Duquesne. We had our best 2 practices we probably had in 3 or 4 weeks, just in terms of our guys wanting to practice, be out there and play. I knew we would play hard against Duquesne, and I thought we would play better. I also didn't expect us to continue offensively to really struggle shooting as much as we are, especially at home. But the key of the whole deal was, we stayed with great effort. We stayed with great togetherness. And at the end of the day, our guys are playing to win when it's easy to pack up right now. It's just easy to say it's a little bit too hard right now. It's the end of the season. We're not playing that well. A couple losses in a row. But we have a lot to play for. I mean, each week you could go up 3 standings. You can come down 3 standings. You can, go from the first day, the second day, your seed line. There's a lot to play for. And for us to be able to go to Fordham and head into the conference tournament, to me, this is an opportunity for us to build some momentum heading in.
Fordham in overtime, 70-66 over Rhode Island on February 14th, Valentine's Day. And yesterday after the game, last night, you said we let that one slip away.
Yeah, there's probably the only game all year where, you can look back and say we should have did this, we should have did that. But, most of the time you're going to win a couple you're not supposed to, and you're going to lose a couple maybe you're not supposed to. But that one right there is different. It's in a different category in terms of how we were defeated in that game. And we didn't trail for 42 and a half minutes. Think about that.
Yeah.
That's hard to do now at home, and you don't trail until basically the end of the game. And we did everything in our power in the last 6 to 7 minutes of regulation and overtime to give it to them.
Yeah, right.
And I think, we struggled against the zone. It's a very good zone. It's a big zone. But we struggled. We got tight against the zone. We couldn't get a basket that we needed. We needed a free throw or 2 to go in. Didn't come up on the free throw lines. Defensively, we didn't have enough toughness or grit in the last 8 minutes to finish it. And, you're up 3 with 27 seconds to go, and you give them a 3-point shot and, basically banks it in. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to prevent a 3-point shot up 3. So we didn't do enough on our end to deserve the win, but I'll also tell you that, we did plenty in that game where you look at it and say, I don't really know how we lost that one.
Reeves, Schulte, and Henry, 19, 17, and 16 against you.
Yeah.
Other than that, 16 points total with the rest of the
that's
team.
kind of their team. Mike's done a fantastic job with his team. They control the game. Their 2 guards are very, very, very hard to deal with. And then Schulte has had a really good year. His size bothers you. When you look at those guys, though, DeJour Reeves right now in the back half of conference play and in the last 6-7 games is averaging 20. He's an all-conference player. He's very difficult. Henry is a unique guy in terms of playing the point guard position because he's so physical. He can get to 6 feet anytime he wants. And, they have tremendous size. They're playing 6'9", 6'10", 7 foot. And they're timely three-point shooters, but they get good shots. And the key to their team, what they've been able to do is obviously they've been able to manipulate the pace of the game. They've been able to dominate the boards on both ends. And they've had some tremendous wins just based on watching them play with great defense, zone defense, and then offensively, they do enough with those two guards and play through their pick-and-roll game with their big to cause some problems. So I think that at the end of the day, Fordham and Mike, they've done about as good a job as any in conference play, especially the last 10 games.
When you're scouting, getting ready for this one, and you're asking Jack for certain things, are you paying more attention to the first time you played them, which is now 3 weeks ago or so, or the last game they played?
You'll do both. For me, it's about the first time we played them. And for our players, that will get their attention more than any game that they've played. Mm-hmm. Now that you're through 17, 18 games, you kind of know what a team's going to do versus certain types of teams. So, not every game that they play is going to look like what it'll look like versus us. So you kind of try to pick and choose there. But for us, first time we played them, that will get our attention just in terms of our players because they're in the game. It's easier for them to figure it out. And I think as we make some tweaks into this one, we'll spend most of our time on game one.
And do you say, okay, we were able to do this successfully, so I'm sure they're going to probably try to take that away?
Right. I mean, there's adjustments on both sides of the ball in terms of what they're going to do, what they need to do better. But for us, we really can't control them as much as there's a few things that we're going to have to answer, and our zone offense is going to have to be much better. Our ability level to guard in the half court versus Reeves and Henry is going to have to get better. We're concerned, obviously, about the post and the size on the glass.
Yeah.
We're going to have to answer that bell. But, clearly we have some things that if we do a little bit better and we make some tweaks, I think we have a better chance of being more successful in certain areas.
I've been pleased with the last couple of games. The numbers 2 games ago, but not necessarily numbers last night, but just the way he's attacking the game with confidence is Alex Crawford.
Yeah, Alex is playing a little more aggressive. You're coming down the home stretch of your career. We need Alex to continue to be aggressive. We need him to continue to do more hard physical things for us, whether it's rebounding, scoring around the basket. He's starting to get in and around the basket more and more and spend less time behind the three-point line.
Right.
But the other thing that he's given us at times this season is he's given us a guy that, defensively he's been good. He's been able to guard both spots. He's been able to hang in there a little bit for us. And he'll play a big role, Saturday in particular with what we're doing. But, Alex is playing better basketball for us.
Yeah, a little pop in the step, too, I think, after that big game.
St. Joe's, obviously had an opportunity to really break out there. And I even thought last night, maybe not as many numbers, but he played fine. I think he did a lot of good things that probably don't still up in the stat sheet.
Yeah, absolutely the case. I have to agree. So rebounding going to be a big factor against Fordham because of the way they can be physical up front, right?
No question. The size on the floor with them, again, because they can get away with playing zone defense.
Yeah.
They had a lineup on the floor in game 1, which was 6'9", 6'9", or 6'9", 6'10", 7 foot. That's a big zone.
Yeah, right.
Now, when you look at that on offense and you say to yourself, the problem there is, the glass. And Schulte is one of the best offensive rebounders in college basketball right now. In college basketball, not just our league. He does an amazing job on the glass. And with the way that they play, we're going to have our work cut out for us size-wise in and around the rim. We will have to do a very good job like we have the last 2 games of defensive rebounding.
When you talk to Jack and say, hey, give me this, give me that, do you look at, you mentioned offensive rebounding, give us our 11 offensive rebounds in this one game so you can show your guys, hey, listen, this is what we need to do to get that number from 11 to 13 or something.
Yeah, I think one of the things you're always trying to do with your team is the message for them can't be overwhelmingly a lot.
Yeah.
They're not going to process a lot in short amount of time. So each game requires sort of like what we call what's the theme of the game. What's the theme on offense, what's the theme on defense. And we try to lock our guys on just a couple themes. So if rebounding is the theme, then you're going to show them all the offensive rebounds that you gave up in game 1. Or if you're not offensive rebounding without effort, you're going to say, hey, rebounding in general, let's take a look at the lack of rebounding in game 1. and boom, hit them right there. And I think that immediately they understand like that's important. And whether it, Duquesne in game one, what didn't happen in game one that we needed to do a better job of? Well, in game one of the things that we did a really poor job of in game one against Duquesne was the inability to play out of, whether it's trapping the post or whether it's trapping ball screens. We were really poor in our rotations.
Okay, yeah.
And one of the things we hit those guys with in game two as we were getting ready to play those guys was, we have to be much more impactful when we rotate. We have to be much faster out of our traps to be able to clear the second side. And last night we were in very few bad rotations. So, hit them with a couple things. Focus on those two things in the game. Rebounding, number one, is going to be a big deal at Fordham. Zone offense and taking care of the ball is going to be a big deal in game two at Fordham. And then guarding their two small guys way better than we did in game one. And, so themes going into this next game, we've already kind of addressed it today. We'll have an opportunity to address it again tomorrow, and then an opportunity to work a little bit on the court, and then we'll be right back at it.
When Jim Herrick was here, he always would say, Stevie, if you give, not just the team, but you give anybody 10 things to remember, they won't remember any of them. He said, you give them 3, they might remember 2.
That's why he's won a national championship. Yeah. But, you got to keep things, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
I mean, the attention span, and it's so overwhelming in terms of mental fatigue. Sometimes it's one thing on offense, one thing on defense. Sometimes it's, hey, these are the 2 things we got to do well in this game on defense and zone in on them. But we've really, we didn't have any time during the blizzard week as we came back from St. Bonaventure to deal with St. Joe's. We really didn't practice. You just had what do they look like? What are we doing? In that one opportunity that you have with your team the day before the game, it's like these are the 2 things we're dealing with. That's it. And move to the game. Can you do these 2 things well? You can give yourself a chance.
Sometimes that's the best, right? Keep it simple, keep it focused, and go at it. Last thing we want to cover, Coach, you got the Bronx on Saturday, then off to Pittsburgh after that, your hometown, Beaver Falls, close by. How much to drive from Beaver Falls to downtown Pittsburgh is?
It's about probably 30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay. Yeah. They got PPG now, but the Igloo before. Do you see any concerts at the Igloo when you were in your younger days? Okay.
No, the things that I saw at the Civic Arena, the old Igloo, the old Civic Arena, when I was growing up, was pit basketball.
Okay, yep.
In the old Big East, everybody in the Big East had the Dave Gavitt, had the big
arenas.
Right?
Yeah.
So, at Pitt, they used to play at Fitzgerald Fieldhouse. And then when Georgetown and Syracuse would come into town, they'd move over to the Igloo.
Sure.
So when I was young, if I was lucky, I got to go, watch John Thompson or watch Jim Boeheim, Syracuse and Georgetown teams grow up in the late 80s and the early 90s at Pitt. And then the second thing that I used to always go to the Igloo for was the Dapper Dan Round Ball Classic.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So every year the Dapper Dan would come to Pittsburgh. Sonny Vaccaro would run the All-American game. And, you would see, everyone from 87, 88, when I was 10 or 11, every year after that, have an opportunity. So you would see Shaq, Alonzo Mourning, Billy Owens, all the way through with the All-American game. So that's pretty much the extent of no concerts, no Penguin games, but I definitely caught the big boy basketball games in Pittsburgh when they played at the Igloo.
So you saw all those Big East games, and then the ACC got you, right?
Yeah, definitely. My dad was a big ACC guy.
Was he?
Yeah, he was a big ACC guy. He loved Dean Smith. He loved Tobacco Road. Jim Valvano. I mean, my dad was a big ACC guy. Obviously, Sean playing at the University of Pittsburgh.
Yep.
We were entrenched in Big East basketball for forever, and it was good for me to get away, from home.
Did you have Big East opportunities? Were there other Big East teams involved in
it? Yeah,
it?
Pittsburgh was probably the one school at the end of the day that growing up, would have been the school to go to if I didn't leave town. But I think for me, in particular, I think it was good to leave town, just for me.
Yeah, get out of the shadow of your brother and do your own thing, basically.
Yeah, I think style of play-wise, too.
Okay,
I looked at the Big East as being, for me, that was going to be a rough and tumble deal. And ACC was much more swift. It was much more free-flowing. Little did I know at the time they were both rough. So
the Big East back then was brutal, though.
Big East back then was brutal.
You're
brutal,
right. Absolutely.
You're right.
Coach, thanks a lot. Congratulations on the win last night. Let's get one in the Bronx and then off to Pittsburgh after that. Archie Miller, head coach of the University of Rhode Island. And, Jack, you are next, mister, the video coordinator for the University of Rhode Island. Looking forward to chatting with Jack about all the things under his umbrella. We'll do that in just a second. We're here at the Mews Tavern in Wakefield, downtown Wakefield, and a great place to be before or after any URI event, especially URI basketball. Last home game of the season was yesterday, but anything happened at URI, make sure you get to the Mews either before or after. Back in just a bit, more of the Archie Miller Coaches Show right after this from Learfield. Welcome back once again to the Mews Tavern. It's the Archie Miller Coaches Show. And we are going on to our second segment here. The video coordinator for the University of Rhode Island, Jack Buchan, is with us. We'd like to thank our friends of the Pizza Gourmet, Rhode Island's Wood Grill Pizza Crust, proud sponsor of URI Athletics. Order online today at woodgrilledcrusts.com. That's woodgrilledcrusts.com. Jack, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Now, you've been around a while at the University of Rhode Island as a student manager, and then into the GA's role, video coordinator. So you're a veteran at URI at a very young age. First of all, take us back to those student manager days. Coach talked about how that's such a great training ground for kids to get into any aspect of athletics.
Yeah, it really is, and it's funny because I didn't really know that role existed.
Mm-hmm.
I came to URI with totally different plans, and sure enough, I was the COVID class of high school, so things got derailed, and one thing led to another. I was at my house watching the NBA bubble every day from noon until midnight, and so I reached out to see if I could be a manager, and here we are.
Fantastic, and you did that for 4 years and kind of led the crew at the end. I guess you had a bunch of other students working underneath you.
Yeah, we've had a great group over the year, and obviously each year trying to land guys jobs with other teams, maybe this team as well. So any way that I can help those guys, just like the previous guys before me helped me, it's always.
And you got into the video aspect of it during that managerial role, right? Talk about how that happened and how it's grown since then.
Yeah, that's a huge part, and I think I'm very fortunate to have that responsibility. There are a lot of schools and programs, different levels, where managers don't touch anything in the video room.
Yeah.
And obviously as a junior and a senior, I was kind of handed the keys in a sense, and here we are obviously as a video coordinator. That's a big responsibility. So I'm very grateful for people that put me in that spot to give me that opportunity, and obviously I kind of ran with it.
Absolutely. They tell me you're the best in the business. Quick, you asked for something from Jack 5 minutes later?
I try. Time is of the essence, as we all know in this industry, especially when you're playing on these tough stretches, and obviously next week will be a prime example of that when we play in the A-10 tournament. It
takes me 10 minutes to find the remote to be able to change the channel on my TV. Yeah. So we get but when you're growing in that role, obviously the pressure comes on too, because the responsibility is big. Being video coordinator, coach asks a lot of you. Just talk about some of your roles. Like take last night's game is Duquesne, right? Yeah. So after Joe's, you're getting ready for Duquesne. Take us from the beginning, what you have to give coach, as far as video breakdown the works.
Yeah, so heading into the game, it's always minimum the last 6 games they've played.
Okay.
Last 6 they've played, and for Duquesne, obviously second time round. Yeah. Like he mentioned earlier, watching that game footage was big time. Obviously that's a big point of focus for us, is watching what went wrong the first time around, what went well the first time around, and what we can do differently this time. So aside from that, then it's the special projects. I do all the personnel edits for the most part, so I'm, like you mentioned to me earlier, helping break down the film on the individual players within the team, and then working with the assistant coaches on special edits and points of emphasis, like he was talking about themes, offensive rebounding, maybe missed blockouts, taking care of the ball if we turn the ball over a lot, things like that. So that's kind of how we function leading into the game. And then post-game, it's a little different. Days like today where you're working with the footage from last night's game. But then also we dive right into Fordham. So we waste no time, and obviously you don't have time to waste in this industry. you kind of have to be on top of it. And we have a pretty good system going as a staff where we know what we have to watch when we have to watch it.
So last night's game ends. Everybody, for the most part, goes home. But your day is not over. You've got to turn that around for Coach. You practice usually mid-afternoon, 2:30 or so, or some of that. So everything's got to be done for the morning when Coach comes back in. Is that the deal?
Yeah, and fortunately there's a lot of technology that we have nowadays that makes that a lot easier for us.
Sure.
So, for instance, Fordham played against LaSalle last night. We were able to get that game footage pretty quickly. And then, like you said, most of the coaches go home. Obviously, you need a couple hours of sleep to come back the next day and do your job. So once we get in the office, we hit the ground running and we throw that game on the TV right away. And we all kind of flock in and we chip away at that film. But, yeah, it's a pretty quick turnaround.
Now, individual work with the players, say it's Saturday afternoon, it'll either be Miles or maybe RJ who gets Day-Day Reeves. Do you give them some personal Day-Day Reeves breakdowns?
Yeah, so we watch the personnel edits as a team always, at least. I mean, we're on the road tomorrow, so we'll probably watch it in the hotel tomorrow. But we actually watched it today.
Okay.
Tomorrow we'll touch back on some of their system and some of their main themes. As far as the player-to-player goes, they have an app on their phone that they can go and look at all the scouts on.
Okay.
And then my role will just be answer any further questions they have. Sometimes after a personnel edit, someone will come up to me and just ask a question on what their tendencies are. I'll try to touch on that as much as I can, but for the most part, the assistant coaches do a great job presenting that film and bringing out those points to those specific guys during the film.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent stuff. Coach did mention that you are the challenge guy, so you're sitting there with that iPad making decisions for Coach when he turns around in a crucial play to say, should we or shouldn't we?
Yeah, it's funny. I know I stress out about it, maybe complain every now and then about it, but I really do love it. It's a really cool job to have, and it's so unique. Obviously, it's new to college basketball this year, but even talking to guys in the NBA, they've been doing it for a little while now, and it's a big role. So to, again, be given that privilege is pretty big time for me and in my development. The confidence it instills in me is invaluable. It's awesome. Again, very high pressuring.
Yeah. So take us through it. All right, there's a questionable ball goes out of bounds. Who touched it last? They say it's the opposing team. Yeah. Coach looks to you and says, Jack, should I challenge?
That's my favorite thing to do is break down what I do during the challenge. If you watch me during the game, I always have a finger hovering over the pause button.
Okay.
And I'm watching about 1 second behind real time, so I'm pretty quick in terms of the technology access that I have. But when you say the ball goes out of bounds, there's a bang-bang play. I'm seeing it. Someone's driving on the baseline, and maybe someone pokes it out of bounds. I pause it before I see what the ref says. And I'm watching it from my own eyes, and then I'm looking up to see what the call is. And by that point, I'm agreeing or disagreeing with it. So then hopefully Coach turns around, and I already have an answer for him. Now the tricky part is the camera angles. Again, if he's driving on the baseline, I'll go to the guest basket hoop on the baseline, the camera angle there. And I'll try to get a better look at it there. But, again, sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it's, you're working in half a second to say yes or no, and you got a lot of people turning and looking at you, a whole arena's maybe saying, challenge it. I'm saying no. Like, it's funny. It's really funny.
Now, so basically you're saying you make the decision not in reaction to what the ref said, but before the ref makes the call.
Yeah, and it's really funny. Sometimes I wish that Vinny Turco, who sits next to me, I wish he could have a microphone because most of the time I pause it, and then as I'm watching, I say, what was the call, what was the call, what was the call? I don't know the call because I don't have enough time to wait for that. I got to watch on my own and try to stay a step ahead as much as I can because it's a matter of seconds.
Absolutely. Now, you also get this input. I can see, we're directly across from you. The coaches, the assistant coaches are all pointing one way, pointing the other way, looking at you and everything. Do you take others' input, or do you say, hey, listen, it's got to be my deal because not enough time to really take a poll here?
Yeah, unfortunately, nothing against them. I'm not listening. Now, if sometimes Benny Sander pokes over and he takes a look and gives me his input,
okay,
a little more valuable than someone just looking like trying to get a peek at the iPad.
And they say the rule of thumb is don't take any signal from the player that was involved in the play. He always thinks it should be our ball, right?
Yeah, and that's an interesting conversation to have on the psychological aspect of things because, like you said, they're just in denial sometimes that they actually touched it. And there's a couple examples. I'll save those for after the show. It's funny.
Yeah, we love you, but we're not going to take your advice on this one at all. We're going to make this decision independent of you. Mm-hmm. But it's got to make you feel good that the head coach places really complete faith in you as to what to do.
Yeah, and I'm 23 years old, so to have that opportunity this early in my career on this path to coaching, it means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what is the overall strategy with Arch? And from what you know, talking to other people that have the same rules and similar rules for other teams, it seems like first half, it's got to be on the dime, 100% sure if you're going to make you're going to use your challenge then.
Yeah, my rule of thumb, so to speak, in the first half is you shouldn't have to turn to me.
Okay,
If you think it's that bad, you shouldn't have to look at the video. You should have been able to see it with your naked eye. And truthfully, I don't normally think it's worth it in the first half, unless the one conversation to be had is a goaltend. Goaltend would be worth more points per possession than an out-of-bounds call. So that's one tricky one, and we haven't had many of those opportunities. There was one way early in the year. We didn't bite on it, but it's something to think about.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Because goaltend, that's 2 points on the board, off the board, one way or another. Yeah. It's not a possession, which could end up being turnover, or it could be a bucket. You just don't know the outcome. Yeah. So the first half is very judicious, and then as it gets in later in the game, you're open to more ideas.
Yeah, and it's funny. It kind of incrementally increases in the likelihood that I would bite on it. Obviously, I think under 10 for me is like, okay, it's pretty serious now. Maybe when my palms start to sweat a little bit more because I know they're coming, especially down the stretch of these close games. But early in the second half, we've had a couple. There was one in Dayton at the 18-minute mark. We ended up winning that one, so it's a good feeling. And then on top of that, you get to keep it. So obviously you win. You have one more into your pocket. That was a barn burner down the stretch, so it was good to have that one.
What's your record, do you know, on challenges?
It's either 3 for 5 or 4 for 6.
Yeah, Arch hasn't used it a lot. I don't think a lot of coaches use it very much. Do you?
No.
Do you get a feel for how many outside of URI are using them?
That's one thing. I wish there was more data on it.
Yeah,
There was an article early in the year by Ken Pomeroy, and he did a great job breaking it down. He gave numbers on how many games have had one challenge, 2, 3, even 4, because both teams get 2.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see that data again and see where it stands right now at the end of the season.
Now, how do timeouts factor in? Because if you lose the challenge, you lose a timeout. So late in the game, if you've got 3, you're more apt to take a shot, right?
Correct. And a funny joke I always make with Brittany Miles is the second we run out of timeouts, you should see me. You should see like the shoulders drop down. And
you're relieved.
I'm relieved. I'm relieved in a sense. Now, again, I do love the thrill of the opportunity to get to challenge a play. But I'm also, okay, I can enjoy the game. I can do other things to help us out in that situation rather than just be glued to that iPad.
Do you get the look from Coach sometimes when it doesn't come up successful?
Yep. I get the look. And there was an occasion the other day where they turned around and they said, whose ball is it? And we had no timeout, so I just said, well, they got it right, so we'll live.
That's it. We're just going to do that. Hey, you mentioned a while ago, 23, already have had some great responsibilities, and that's going to bode well for you as you continue. Where do you go from here? Where do you see yourself 5-10 years from now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, there's hopefully a lot in store for me.
Yeah.
Still a lot of work to be done and things to improve on, but I think I do want to get to the NBA at one time or another. I want to work with professionals and in that professional setting, and obviously, if that didn't work out for me, I could come back to college, hopefully. But coaching is in the cards.
It is awesome. I wanted to ask about URI, the equipment that you guys have versus other A-10 schools. I'm sure you talk with other video coordinators. You got good stuff, and what type of stuff to use?
So it's pretty similar across the A-10, even across most conferences. I think the biggest difference would be the quantity. Obviously, you get to the Power 4, Power 5 levels, they have a lot more of what we have, but it's pretty similar. Obviously, we have MacBooks is what we're using for the software, and then the services for scouting and the live coding. All those things vary a little bit from program to program, but they're pretty similar. I'd say they're pretty similar across the A-10.
TV cameras, like what we see when we watch a basketball game on ESPN versus coaching tape. What do you use, and why don't you use what you don't use?
Yeah, so it's just a Sony camcorder, and I say it's just a Sony camcorder, but it's pretty nice, and we've had it for quite a while now. But for the live code, we've gotten to the point now with technology where we just have a wire that we plug in from the feeds up above in the Nest. So if ESPN Plus is broadcasting the game, if CBS Sports Network is broadcasting the game, we're ultimately using their footage. And that's what we use for everything because the scouting services we have let us download the footage from the TV. So that's mainly where we're at nowadays. Practices and scrimmages and some games will be using our footage from up in the Nest. But it's really nothing too fancy or anything like that, but it gets the job done, and obviously it's clear enough.
But coach likes most coaches like that above angle, right, so they can see breakouts and things of that sort.
Correct, yeah, and it's tough when we go to a place like Rose Hill, actually, where if we do have to film, obviously it's an old gym and it's not very tall, so
you can't get very high.
Yeah, even when you watch the game on TV, it's a pretty low camera angle, but obviously you got to do what you got to do, and there's plenty of footage out there to try to salvage a different angle if needed.
Kids appreciate what you do when they come back and say, "Hey, Jack, did a great job. I knew exactly what that guy was going to do."
Yeah, it's a great job to have, and it's pretty rewarding in that sense. Even with the challenges, like when we won the one at Dayton, obviously that was a big game down the stretch, and I remember like 4 or 5 players coming from the end of the bench and giving me a fist bump like in real time.
Yeah,
it's a pretty cool thing. And on top of that, back to your point about scouting and video, they love film. So this group of guys, they go on their phone, they watch the YouTube links I send out sometimes. They watch practice like it's their homework. Hopefully they're doing their homework as well, but they love to watch practice. If I'm 5 minutes behind my normal schedule, I'll get a text from someone right away, say, where's practice? So really good group of guys.
That makes you feel really appreciated, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's fantastic stuff. This looks like it's a great group of guys. Coach always talks about character and that part of it, and it really hits home. Like we were talking, the effort that they're giving every game down the stretch is a good example of that. Yeah, and their attention to detail, it doesn't go unnoticed. Like even in the personnel, you see everyone sitting forward like this, paying the utmost attention. And then it shows when, like you said, in game, maybe they cut the guy off when they're going to their left hand or whatever, and maybe they poke the ball loose. And those things really do show in the box score. And if not in the box score by us, the guys that were scouting, the guys that were helping them prepare, we see it in real time. And it means a lot, obviously, for them to trust and listen to us that much. You talked about going to the NBA, hopefully, at some point. But working for your alma mater is going to be pretty cool. Yeah, and I'm an hour away from home. It's really a dream for most of the guys in this industry to be 4 years as a student manager, kind of grinding every day, doing whatever it takes to try to progress in this industry. And then one thing leads to another. I get kept on as a graduate assistant and now as a full-time video coordinator. I couldn't ask for anything else from this program and these people. Now you got a degree in sports media? Sports media and communication studies, yeah. So you wanted to do this kind of thing initially? I've always been fascinated with talking to people, whether that's on a mic or face-to-face. So communication studies was huge for me, and then sports media, I had to incorporate sports one way or another, so that was really helpful. So really, as far as classwork, it wasn't anything to do with what you're doing video-wise or anything? Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah. Now, if it was something like sports management, that's kind of what most guys that are trying to get into this industry would go for. Yeah. And they introduced that after I graduated. I think now they have a grad program for sports management. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. All right. But that's interesting. So you went in with one idea, and you came out, with not a completely different idea, but in the same church, but not the same pew. Yeah. And making a great career out of yourself. Huh? Thank you. Well, my first 5 days, I was actually a mechanical engineering major, and here I am now as a video coordinator. So there's another fork in the road. Best decision you made getting out of that. That looked like trouble. That 5 days took you a week to realize. Yeah. I don't know. These guys around me are awfully smart. Yeah. Right. I think I'll break down some tape. Yeah. I think I'll watch basketball every day. I'll do that. That's a lot better. Yeah, absolutely. Right? Jack, thanks for being with us. But not only for the show, thanks for being with us since the day you walked on campus as a freshman, right through your years to graduate, and then staying with us after that. Big part of the URI family. We really appreciate having you around, and by all the people who you supply great stuff to, they say you're the best in the business. Mm-hmm. Oh. Honey, how'd that's your nickname. I saw that one. We almost got away with it, right? I saw that one coming. So I have to thank assistant coach T.J. Buchanan. Who was here with David Koch. Sure, T.J. He's the great player at URI and then a coach. Yep. Yeah. He's the one that coined the term, and it stuck like glue. And Where'd it come from? We want to hear the story, right, Nora?
Truthfully, it's Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey for no reason at all, but he just was like, hey, Jack, and he started saying, like, Jack Honey, Jack, Tennessee Honey, and then Jack Honey stuck in, and here we are 6 years later.
Buchanan, I'll tell you,
Teacher.
He's always trouble, always trouble. Jack,
great guy.
Thanks a lot for all you do, man. We appreciate it. Good luck in the Bronx on Saturday, and then off to the A-10 tournament after that. Appreciate you being here. Jack Buchan and URI playing Saturday at 2 o'clock in the Bronx at Rose Hill. Low ceiling. So Jack's got his work cut out for him on that one, but we'll get it done. And thanks for being with us on the Archie Miller Coaches Show, live from the Mews Tavern. George McAuliffe, we appreciate George each and every time having us down. And, again, anything you're doing at URI or anywhere in this South County area, make sure before or after you stop by the Mews and have yourself some fun. And I highly recommend. You've already eaten, Jack. What do you have?
Mahi rice bowl. Fantastic.
Okay. All right. I'm not a Mahi rice guy. You might find that hard to believe. But the Pink Panther calzone, that is good stuff. Thanks, George, for having us here. Thanks, everybody, for your support of URI basketball. And go, Rhody.
You've been listening to the Archie Miller Show. Tonight's show has been brought to you by New England Laborers, Liuna, Feel the Care, Pizza Gourmet. Rhode Island's wood-grilled pizza crust is a proud sponsor of URI Athletics. Haxton Liquors, where we buy the most so you pay the least. Newport Propane, Rhode Island's #1 choice for all your propane needs. Orthopedics Rhode Island, the official orthopedic and sports medicine provider for URI Athletics. Dave's Fresh Marketplace, better food, better service. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation of the Rhody Sports Network.